the Master.
Is held prisoner in Tower Grey Prison.
In 500 years, no one has ever escaped. Anyone who can get to the top is free. Who is next? I've been waiting for this for a long time.
You look better this way.
I owe you my life.
I'm going east. Come with me.
My village has changed. Something is very wrong.
She's an evil witch.
What in God's name is happening?
My people are suffering. I must help save them. We need my father's seal.
Give this to Janan.
I swear to find her.
It's a perilous journey, filled with dangers.
You're a great fighter.
You are very strong, hero. Can you help us?
Frightening, but quite impressive.
Kill him!
When I have the seal of the dragon, I will rule the world.
Where's the dragon?
And there it is. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Andy, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, Joe. How you doing?
Doing better today than I was at yesterday after watching Iron Mask. Let's be real. I could not believe what I was watching.
Yeah, it's like I love the movie, but then like it just it's like after that first 20 minutes or so, like that first act, it just
You mean the three prologues or the three
one of the prologues actually is explaining the previous movie, which they never, I didn't know until yesterday.
That's what that
this
was.
Is a part two.
All right. Okay, I had no idea.
Yeah.
All right.
Is a Russian film, and it came out a few years ago, and this is the sequel to it. Jason Fleming's in both of them, but this one was a combination with China, and then they brought in Jackie Chan.
All right, that's true. And let's just hey, Evil Yoda's here. Hello, Evil Yoda. He says, "Yo." Let's just make clear to everybody. Welcome to episode 1 of the Bad Takes podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Joe Payne. You might know me from my channel, Political Payne, and we also have J. Andrew World. Andy, tell our live viewers a little bit about yourself.
Hey, I am a artist, graphic designer, and bad movie fan, and
big time.
I quite enjoy weird foreign films like this, and making pretty pictures. I mean, that's pretty much, also seeing concerts, but that's a whole other thing. We don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, and you do album art and you do all kinds of stuff. But we met because you did the artwork for Against the Web by Michael Brooks. We met online in the Facebook group. And then I actually asked you to do some illustration for my show, which you did, which was great.
After you did some impressions for me.
Yeah, yes, I did. I did start with impressions. Devoid Reality is here. Hey, Devoid Reality, how you doing, buddy? So we, as Andy was saying just a moment ago, this movie, Iron Mask, it's very hard to tell, is a sequel to what was the sequel or the prequel called?
Well, in
previous
America,
installment?
it's called Forbidden Empire. In Russia, where it came out, it's named after the same short story that it's based on, which is I think it's pronounced Vi. It's VIY.
But basically, you can tell from the beginning, like Chinese and Russian state media are making this movie, right? That's a big part of it. And I think that's a big part if you want Jackie Chan to come be in your movie in general.
Yeah, he kind of has gone to be loyal to mainland China after making his career out of Hong Kong films and then coming to the States. I think Hong Kong kind of feels upset. I understand, like Jet Li didn't like doing Hong Kong movies because of the mafia was involved with a lot of the Hong Kong action flicks. Yeah, it could have something to do with that, but like at the same time, the Hong Kong fans feel betrayed by Jackie Chan as he's kind of used to, like, all of his stuff is like for mainland China nowadays.
Wow. So as we saw in the preview that played at the beginning of the stream, there's quite a lot to this story. When we start out, there's like I was saying, 2 prologues and an introduction or however you want to say it. But like you said, one kind of sums up the film. And then the others kind of explain.
Yeah, because it opens with the Chinese one where it kind of like explains the story for the movie.
The mythology,
which is I didn't have time to fully research this part, but the eyelashes thing lays in heavy with the Russian folklore that the first movie is based on.
Yeah. There's a myth that like the townspeople make a magic tea out of the eyelashes of a dragon, right?
Yes, and it gives them like good health.
But then the lion or the dragon falls asleep, and only to be awoken by a master or something, like these kind of wizards,
it's
ninja
confusing.
wizards.
There's like 3 guardians of the dragon: the witch, the master, and the princess. And the witch betrayed them, becoming trying to control the dragon. And so and she takes the princess and the master and sends them to prisons in Russia, in Moscow and in London.
Okay, so I understand better now.
Yeah,
it's pretty vague.
Yeah,
it's pretty vague.
And the movie's long too, so like
it was long. Yeah, that's what I just kept going. Like, man, this movie's still going. It still has a lot to go. And yeah, you just start. It's very drawn out. But another interesting thing is that so they set up this mythology, but part of that is what's called the Dragon Seal, right? And it's basically, as a Lord of the Rings nerd, a big Lord of the Rings nerd, I see that and I go, "That's the one ring. They're just doing a magic ring, right?"
More or less, like a Chinese version of it, but it's not a medallion.
Of course, even though it's ring shaped, yeah, it's a medallion. But so the Dragon Seal, yeah, you got to have the mystical jewelry. They have the creature. They have wizards. They have nobility, royalty, right? We have all these characters. There's a cartographer. There's a prince of Russia, right?
Well, let's break it down a little simpler, just to kind of because it is quite confusing. The cartographer is the main character throughout the first film. So again, it's something that because I haven't seen this, I didn't even know this was a sequel until, like I said, after the second time I watched it, and that was just me like reading online. There's working on a third one, by the way.
Why?
In India.
Oh God! Why? That was the weird thing about it, was it definitely felt like the plot line of the cartographer was very much like not the main. It didn't feel like the main story because they were leaning so much on Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger's characters, who really are not the main characters.
No,
right?
and the thing is like I love Jason Fleming, who plays the cartographer. I'm just going to get that out of the way right here. He's a great character actor. If you want to see my favorite performance of his, I haven't seen all of it, but check out Pennyworth. and he just steals like every scene he's in. Um, but the in the very first film, he's goes off to Russia, and so the whole like being chased by wolves and Transylvania. Apparently, there's vampires and stuff that he meets, and this very much follows not what you're thinking, because whenever you say Transylvania and being chased by wolves, all of a sudden you're thinking of Jonathan Harkness from Dracula, and this is actually. I mean, they probably are taking from that, because this character does not appear in the book Vi, the Russian story, which is about a witch who takes three travelers and starts riding one of them like a horse, and he becomes like a sea creature, and then he overpowers her, and then forces to then he has to ride the witch, and.
So this is from the old folklore, or what?
Yeah. This is from
that's weird.
Google, I think his name is Google.
For a second, I thought you were saying you Googled it, but very good. So Devoid Reality I mentioned the Dragon Seal, and they said, "Is that why Jackie Chan looks like Gandalf?" Yeah, pretty much. Jackie Chan has the mystical powers in this movie, but like we said, most of the entire plot, Jackie Chan's character is chained to a wall, right? He's having all these mystic, either, in the beginning we meet him in this situation, but then he stays that way, and
it's like some weird parallel with the dragon.
Yeah, he has some weird parallel spirit kinship with the dragon. It's very, there's just a lot to it, but we have to talk about this straight up right away, because it's one of the very first things I noticed. The computer animation in this movie is sad.
It's standard fare for Chinese blockbusters.
Okay. Well, all right. So, the other thing that's interesting, just like from a structural point of view, is that I noticed immediately was there's tons of overdubbing, right?
Yes, they overdubbed the great Rutger Hauer. Like, this is like one of his last performances on screen, and you don't even hear his voice. I missed him the first time around because they overdubbed him.
Jeez,
it's a very small part. He's the ambassador in Russia.
I think I remember him. So I'll go back. Oh, there he is. But then he's gone. Right.
Yeah. And then he's overdubbed, so you can't because he has such a distinctive voice too.
Yeah, but I think that a lot of this was that in whichever country a lot of this stuff was shot, that's what they were filming in that language. So I think is taking into consideration the audiences as well, right? Where Chinese audience get to hear their stuff in their language, Russian audience get to hear their stuff, and we English speakers got to hear Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger go back and forth, but then almost everyone else in the entire movie is overdubbed.
Jason Fleming and Charles Dance are not. That's about it.
There you go.
Because the wife, I forget the character's name, the blonde girl there. She's a Russian actress.
Oh yes,
and it's very obvious that she's overdubbed. The man in the Iron Mask, he's overdubbed. He's a Russian actor. He was actually in Game of Thrones.
Okay,
like 3 episodes. I didn't remember him.
So there are a lot of not so memorable people. You have this,
and he's kind of like the lead too.
I guess it's called Iron Mask. And I almost feel like we should play the trailer again at the end just to remind everybody. But there's that moment where he throws the mask down, and that's the last moment in the trailer. And they even computer animated that. They couldn't just drop the prop mask down. They have this weird computer animation, and so much of the computer animation is like, I have video games that are better than this, and like this is a Hollywood movie.
Not Hollywood.
You know what I mean?
It's major fare for China has bad computer animation in their films. I mean, it's just I enjoy a lot of the wushu films these days are shot like this, completely on green screen, with all this bad CG, and it's
tons of green screen.
Yeah.
So when we decided to start this project, I should let everybody know, I am not the big bad movie fan that Andy is. So a lot of this stuff I'm reacting to as someone who is coming to this world kind of fresh. I don't watch a ton of bad movies because they're bad. And so watching this with that understanding that that's what I'm going into it, with that intention, it was just something to see how, just comfortably bad. It was comfortable with having that. They had so many exterior shots of little castles and spooky caves and all these different things that just looked like I was like, I could be playing Nintendo right now and have a better looking landscape than this. And then the acting's a whole other thing too. What was your assessment of some of the acting?
Well, I mean, the problem is whenever you're watching something dubbed, you really don't get a great sense of the performance.
That's true.
So take for example the I think it's a German film, Run Lola Run.
Oh yeah,
from around 2000. And the first time I started watching the movie, and it was actually I was trying to do something, so I was doing the dub version, and the person playing the boyfriend was just whiny and obnoxious, and I couldn't stand it. Switched it over to to the German, and all of a sudden, like, it's a totally different performance because it's a totally different voice. He has this like deep guttural thing, and like it's more like he's upset, he's freaking out, but he's not whining. And there's that fine line where he's obnoxious and that. So I can't really talk about most of the acting in the film because of the fact that they really do have great voice actors filling in for everybody. And
but really quick, like there are a lot of tropes that I noticed from kung fu movie.
Well, I mean, it's a wushu film, is what it is. It's a Russians doing wushu.
Okay, yeah, and I mean they did a lot of things where like whoever the little snivelly guy is, like whenever his voice actor comes around, he talks up in his nose. It kind of reminded me of Kung Pao. If you've ever seen Kung Pao Enter the Fist, like hilariously bad movie, but that kind of approach to the voiceover work.
Yeah, a lot of times whenever you get a dubbed film, you tend to have people really taking it to a different level. And it's a shame because like there could be some great performances in there. I mean, like like I said about Rutger Hauer, like his the version we saw, we lose his final performance.
What do you mean?
Because it's overdubbed.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a small, it's a small role, and like you blink and miss some kind of thing.
So was Rutger Hauer speaking in Russian or something? Like that's what I don't get.
I don't know. Again, I've only seen the American version of it. I've not seen any other version, so I can't speak for that. I have to, I'm only putting that there because I have a question and I don't have any answers to it. Maybe I could find some, maybe we can find somebody who actually does have access to the to a different cut of the film, and maybe it'll be a whole different experience.
Yeah, maybe. But so there are those we can judge because they were doing most of their performance in English. And that's Arnold Schwarzenegger and a lot of Jackie Chan's performance. First of all, what did you think of Arnold? How did Arnold do with his character? And what's his character's name?
Oh, it's was it Captain Hook? Or no, James Hook. James Hook.
James Hook, okay.
James Hook. I think he had like a title too. But yeah, it's James Hook. I enjoyed it. I mean, it's just Arnold having fun. The both movies he did with Jackie Chan, it's just Arnold and Jackie just having fun with each other. So
yeah, that's pretty much what their fight scene was like 7 minutes long.
It's the best part of the whole movie.
It really is. It's the only part that you really like. Like I feel like that this is doing something and going somewhere, but then that's it. Then that's
and totally it really doesn't. That's the thing. Like.
Yeah, you're right. His character's name is James Hook. And that's the weird thing is he's like the prison guard, right? And so Jackie Chan in the beginning of the movie has this amazing fight scene between the two of them. And then it ends with a bunch of people getting let out of the prison, just not Jackie Chan. So like the most famous actor in the whole dang thing, like he really only got to show up to like one studio and then the and do a green screen, you know what I mean, with Arnold for the end.
Yep. And you know, but the thing is, though, they're actually friends in real life. When Jackie Chan first broke into the States, Arnold was just like, "This is the future of action," and was just loved.
They said you don't have to speak the language; they don't care.
No, I mean he loved Jackie Chan, and they did become friends. I don't know how close they are or anything like that, but they
so they're buddies, and they've never done a movie up until now.
Yeah, no, they did Around the World in 80 Days.
That's right. Why can't they do anything good together? So this is the thing. Like, we're going to be looking at bad movies for a long time. What is it that makes an actor like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who do whatever he wants? Jackie Chan has the entire government, well, not the entire government, but like has the Chinese Communist Party behind him to get him into films, and they choose garbage like this. What am I missing here? Is this, do they just like it? Like, are they like you in a way?
Movies from China aren't that good.
Is that just in general?
In general, there are some great films out of China. I mean, I can list a whole ton of them, but like any blockbuster, you're looking at something like this. It's bad special effects. Sometimes it's really enjoyable. Sometimes it's like this, where you're just like, I mean, everything's done right in the movie too. Like the Russian director brought in a Chinese director to handle the fight sequences to make it a wushu film. And this is like a pet project of his. Like he spent years. He was actually the first film was supposed to come out in 2009 to mark the 200th anniversary of the book that it was based on. Unfortunately, because of budgeting, the economic crash in 2008, he like lost his budgeting and couldn't finish the film to get it done in time, and it didn't come out till 2014. But this is a passion project of his, but the thing is it also just seems like it's done by committee, which always seems to hurt things, I think.
And who do you think was on this committee? Is it like I just don't understand.
Well,
we got a comment here. Tankies are rolling in. Alert first.
I mean, China's very.
How dare you insult the movies of China, Andy?
The thing is that the Chinese film board is very particular about things. Like they're very they censor certain things that might go against like their what the state of China says. And I mean like this is unfortunate. And the thing is you can actually see this in American movies, because a lot of American movies kind of started because you watch that movie, you see kind of how empty that kind of the whole back half of that film was.
Yeah, man.
A lot of American movies are starting to feel like that, and partly so they can market it to China. And I really hate that, because like it actually does, I think, water down some of the stuff, because they're trying to aim it for a particular market beyond America because of the way things changed. Because up until recently, the United States was like the place where you wanted to have your movie shown, and the rest of the world really didn't matter that much.
Not so anymore.
No, I mean, with Wolf Warrior 2 being like one of the 10 biggest movies of 2017, that's showing you like China has its very serious film market that can support a film and rival, it actually beat several superhero films that year.
Well, there you go. And it's definitely something that, I've been aware of, that the Chinese government, keeps their eye on, like how they're viewed culturally and what their contributions are. Funny enough, they commissioned a study on Kung Fu Panda after that came out, because they were like, how can we make our movies more like this? Like this American movie captured our culture to this like level. Like, why aren't we doing that? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But it really is interesting. I'm not so sure, like, what we should take politically from this movie. I'm not sure there's a lot of politics in it. There
really isn't. There probably is, though, to be honest with you. Whenever you start talking about how they view their leaders a lot of times, like, and I think this could be said true about any kind of medieval film with a princess in it. It's always the
Mhm.
benevolent princess and the evil imposter or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Now, everybody in the chat, if you want to chime in, you want to give us a question or something, let me know if you didn't see the trailer up front on this stream. We might just play it again to like kind of riff on some of the things we see because there are just so many odd, goofy things going on in this movie, and like Arnold's character is really just this big tough guy, you know what I mean? Like always, but in this weird powdered wig context. Have we ever seen Arnie in a powdered wig, like in and of this
Never. That's what
time?
made
Like
this movie so great. He's I mean, the only historical films he ever really did were the Conan movies.
Conan.
Conan.
Oh, Conan.
Yeah.
Those aren't historical. Those are mythical. Andy. No, that all really happened. No.
Oh, are you
But
sure?
yeah, he's not
I
really
remember
in.
growing up, my parents always showed me where Conan was in the Bible.
Okay. Okay.
The Israelites into the land of Conan.
All right, Andy, we got some explain. Well, we'll figure this out some other time. But
We're going to delve into my childhood a lot in this.
well, that's fine. That's fine. Evil Yoda says at least China is doing better than South Korea, in my opinion. What's your opinion on that?
As far as cinema goes,
Yeah.
I actually quite enjoy Korean cinema. I mean, they're
Parasite,
I find them basically they have the exoticness of the Chinese films, but they make them like American films, and there's less of that trying to appease everybody kind of feeling. Because I think Disney movies are not that different from Chinese movies in general, because like Disney movies aren't like the big tentpole musicals, are usually not like a single vision. It's like it's a corporate vision, and then they hire the people to kind of carry it out. And I think when looking at Chinese cinema, modern Chinese cinema, very modern, not Hong Kong, not before this kind of renaissance that they've had, it's kind of become like film by committee. And I mean, I can't speak for this director Oleg. I forgot his last name. We'll just call him Oleg.
Might be able to find it.
Yeah, I may even have the tab up.
Oleg Stepchenko.
Oleg Stepchenko. Yeah, this is his passion project. So obviously, he's got a vision. I just wonder how much he sacrificed for this film. And I'm now really curious to watch the first one to see like how different that is, because that's only a Russian film.
Yeah, I got some of the photos here on IMDb. I thought we could flip through. Here's Arnie with his. You got to take my powdered wig. Be careful. Don't fuss my wig.
And that was after the big fight sequence where he's like beating up the prisoners.
Yeah. He's a prison guard. He's definitely an example of like, I don't know. He's got this weird twisted. He's got a weird twisted sense of honor where like he first of all he fights with the prisoners in the prison, but if you beat them in the fight, I'll let you go. Right? He lets them leave. In fact, there are 3 important characters, and then a few more who are allowed to leave. But these 3 because they best him in a fight. He lets them all 3 go because one of them.
They're apparently brothers in real life.
Wait, who? What? Oh, all those 3 actors. Those
the 3 actors who played the brothers. They're 3 brothers in the film.
Let me see.
And they're 3 brothers in real life.
There he is again.
Schwarzenegger's having a ball in this movie.
I asked them, "Do I get the mustache? Can you get me the mustache for me?" So let's see where else. They get a bunch of ads. This is the cartographer character. He's all goofy and sciencey. Some more of this was in the Russian like palace. I noticed that whole thing was very garish. Like the powdered wigs were super intense. I like that. I like seeing a good overdone powdered wig. This is from the fight scene. Here's Wizard Gandalf, Jackie Chan.
It becomes Jackie Chan the White.
Yeah. What do you how do you grade Jackie Chan's performance in this? I mean, what I like about Jackie Chan is he knows even if he's in some kind of steaming pile of something, he still
Oh
brings
yeah,
it. You
I
know, he
mean I've
doesn't.
seen a lot of stuff. There's a movie that's on the list that we're going to get to at some point called Shaolin, where he's honestly makes the entire film, and unlike this one's actually it's actually a pretty good film. It's just Jackie Chan just puts it over the top. The only problem with that one is switching of tones, but I think that's because they were making one movie and then they got Jackie Chan to be in it, and they're just like, wait, we need to make it goofy now.
Oh,
So
yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so we got Jackie Chan. Let's see. This is one of those very poorly animated guys. Like, I'm gonna make this big again because just see how. Let's see. How did I do it before? Oh boy, here it is. I mean, maybe I can zoom in a bit. There it is. Just, I mean, come on. That's a video game. That's not even. That's a video game. Like a couple PlayStations ago.
and I will say this, like the concept of all the world that they're in is kind of cool. It just would have been nice to have real sets for some of this.
Tell me what you liked about the kind of the magical realism or the mysticism in this world, because there is historical things. Arnold's character James Hook gloats about these helmets and weapons he has. No, that belonged to Alexander the Great. You know, he
But
has
antique
all these,
collection.
yeah, of you know these artifacts that probably never nobody really could have known and got their hands on. But he claims to have all of these. But tell me what you thought of some of the mystical stuff and how things worked in this world that they had crafted.
Well, I think the world's kind of interesting because it didn't quite seem Chinese to me because, like I said, the eyelashes, and again, this was a Russian thing, which I didn't even realize, and I don't understand Russian enough to really, go into detail about Russian witches and their eyelashes.
You don't know your Russian folklore? I'm
I was cramming before this while I was doing stuff for Ben Burgess. So what? I think I'm doing pretty good considering.
Yeah. So here's Jackie Chan's character holding that dragon seal, and what ended up needing to happen? What did they have to do with the dragon seal? I can't remember.
That's the thing. Like it was nothing. It was a MacGuffin to kind of get some of the plot going.
It was a thing that I remember once she got to the mountain with the dragon and put the dragon seal in the little dragon seal plug, then the dragon woke up, if I remember.
Or like it was supposed to obey her. But then like at the end it's like, no, it's not. It's not the seal. The seal that doesn't control the dragon. It's love. It's
having a true heart. Right? I had a true heart is what he says. He says something like that. So this is the witch character, right? And so everybody thought she was the princess that was supposed to get the dragon seal or be able to tame the dragon, but really she was the witch that wanted to use it for her nefarious ends, right?
Yes.
And that guy is the one I mentioned. He had the little squeaky voice. Meh. He was like that.
and honestly, probably in the original Chinese, he probably had a similar kind of nasally voice.
Yeah, but it was just definitely I picked up on like, oh, I've heard that before in other overdubs, like that same guy. Now, so
that's some of the best parts. Like honestly, these guys are great right here.
So you like the fight scenes with these? There's an electricity person. I don't know. Like that's the thing is as
it reminded me of Big Trouble in Little China.
Okay. But what I noticed about these things is that it started showing at once the more they started fighting these this group that was up at the top of the mountain or whatever, almost like before the dragon. Yeah, but it became as our good guys became more and more embroiled in a fight with these golems and these people, it became obvious they're not magic. It's this, they've kind of appropriated they're feigning magic with technology. They like have made this not very crude either, but like some impressive technology for what when this is all supposed to take place. But they think they're mystical. They think they're have magic powers, because some of the characters in this movie do have magic powers, and this group or tribe or whatever you want to call them, they don't really, you know.
Yeah, because these are supposed to be ancient, a part of an ancient army that the princess has now, to prove her might, but it's actually the evil witch that's controlling them. I mean, honestly, if you ever go back to the old Ninja Turtle stuff, this very much reminds me of things that Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird would have borrowed from to have the Ninja Turtles fight.
No kidding, no kidding. We have a comment about the kind of the villain character here. I want to share. Don't know how to say your name because it's in it looks like Chinese characters there, but said usually they tend to demonize female character, emphasize that destructive and insidious femme power. So that is a trope I've seen used a lot in all kinds of movies. So here's the thing: I grew up with the original Power Rangers, and the goofy thing about the original Power Rangers was that like half of it was shot overseas. Right? They took what existed in a show, I can't remember which country, right? And then Japan, a Japanese show, and then they would just reshoot all the interior scenes. And they would even have the villain. I
literally just watched a documentary about the whole backstory, how this whole thing came together.
Okay, because that's what some of this feels like. I mean, because literally, good chunks of this movie are shot in all these different countries, right?
Parts of it, you know what? I don't. I know part of it's filmed in Russia and part of it's filmed in China.
That's what I meant.
There
and of course,
some. Yeah,
there's a lot of
there might be some like in other places, but.
Oh, our guests, our audience member says it's pronounced Chensei. Chensei said this, and I just remember that as being a trope I remember from the Power Rangers. The villain was a woman, right? She had the horns on, and now they're gonna get them. She was very witch-like, and
she married one of the Trumps, right?
Did she? That actor?
No, Rita Repulsa.
What are you talking?
The Republican convention last summer. Rita Repulsa got up there and gave a speech.
Okay, the best is yet to come. Okay, you're making it. I was really going with you for a second there. But is there anything else you can glean from what you were just telling me from that Power Rangers documentary that has any parallels
actually here? Created the whole concept that Saban stole, but yeah, it was all part of a deal. But not really, because I'll be honest with you, I've not really ever watched those shows beyond just smoking a little pot in high school and watching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. That's about my I didn't watch the original shows. I know I'd seen the original Spider-Man like at because I grew up going to conventions. I know I've seen the as a giant robot. But that's actually where the whole deal came from. Basically, Stan Lee sold the rights to a Japanese company to get stuff over here in the States. So the Marvel published a book called Shogun Warriors, which was part of the Japanese, made their own Spider-Man TV show, which had nothing to do with Spider-Man. It was just a costume and a giant robot fighting other giant monsters. It's kind of amazing. And he was trying to get American television to pick up a Marvel-produced, Stan Lee written TV show where they take the fighting sequences, all the special effect works, all the stuff from Japan, and then just place in slotted American actors, just like the Power Rangers, which would have been 10 times better. An 80s version of that with Stan Lee writing.
That might have been really good. It worked somehow there. It also reminds me of that show, Most Extreme Elimination Challenge, right? Where it was this weird. Are you familiar with that?
I think so. Yeah.
It had almost like Ninja Warrior, like obstacle courses, only they were way goofier. And then they would just voice. So it was. I believe I can't remember if it was Japanese or not. Yeah, and then they would just voice over goofy stuff over everybody. But let's pop through a couple more. So we talked about them. Arnold with the mutton chops and the mustache. I don't really know if there's much more to say about Arnold and his performance. I mean, I do think it's interesting. We were talking a little bit about the politics of these actors as we were starting up, and one is how Jackie Chan has very, over the recent years come out in support of, basically the Chinese Communist Party over pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong. And he let's see if I can find
Yeah, a
Jackie
lot
Chan again
of
while we're talking about
interest.
that.
A lot of directors who and people in China. There was like a big division, and uh, I'm gonna do the bastardized American version of his name because I don't ever remember his Chinese name. But Johnny Yimong, or Yimong, I apologize. He directed Hero, Red Sungrum, and a bunch of other just baller films.
Okay.
He always says like in and out with the Chinese government over the decades,
Oh,
and
okay.
right around the Beijing Olympics, like Jackie Chan, him, and a bunch of other like big names. I think Ai Weiwei, who's also
Yeah.
very controversial and
Yeah.
sometimes runs afoul of the Chinese government.
Yep.
All of them kind of ended up like falling in line for the Olympics, which on one hand I can kind of understand because it's the Olympics and you want to cheer for your guys.
Yeah.
But like they're also creating stuff for for people's consumption, and it was none of it was subversive at all. I'm not going to say Jackie Chan is a subversive artist, but that director I mentioned and Ai Weiwei certainly are subversive at times.
Yeah. Well, and Jackie Chan is also, what has he done many times throughout his career? He's played police officers and specifically Hong Kong police officers.
Who are notoriously corrupt.
Yeah. But he puts this, gee golly shucks, Charlie Chaplin hero, energy into it. And so people feel a little bit, more than a little betrayed. Basically, he's become like I don't know, like a Clint Eastwood type character, like a guy who's talking, a movie star who's talking conservative politics, but then embarrasses himself.
Yeah, and another one of his more recent films is very very Chinese as well, which is Vanguard, which I was telling you about a little bit. I didn't spoil anything, but there's a very jingoistic subtext, and I think that's a movie we should probably point. Because of the subtext, not because that movie's any good, because it really isn't. There's a lion scene where they're in Africa and a lion attacks, and the special effects look about as good as what this movie does.
Lions are hard to do. Cats are very hard to do. Lions and tigers. That was the bummer about when The Walking Dead finally got to the point where they have King Ezekiel and he has like a pet lion, because the lion was just bad. It was just bad. Like every time you saw it.
Yeah, well, they kept it to a minimum, so you very rarely saw it.
Yeah, that's true. But and as Chenche says in the comments here, authoritarianism is good in Chinese context. That's the big premise of Hong Kong Cop or Super Cop, or a lot of these movies. I mean, I grew up with those movies.
Just rewind that a little bit though, because at the time Hong Kong was British.
Oh.
It was British until 1997, which another movie on the list is the classic Jean-Claude Van Damme, Dennis Rodman flick Double Team, which says set in the backdrop of the handover. And there's a lot, there's a lot to be made by that. And the Hong Kong action films was kind of like the last piece of art that really kind of, as far as I know, that really came out of Hong Kong that kind of took the world. Part of the reason why you see Jackie Chan came over to the States when he did, why John Woo came to the States, why Chow Yun-fat came to the States, was to kind of avoid a bit of that what happens whenever China takes over. And now they're all back in China making films.
Interesting. Let's move over to Arnie again. Speaking of him politically, I mean, what was the last political thing you remember Arnold Schwarzenegger doing or saying? It didn't have to be when he's in office. But what's like the last
Honestly,
politics thing you remember him saying?
he gave that great speech about Nazis, about how he grew up with a bunch of Nazis.
After January 6th?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm thinking of too. And he even like at one point grabs, "This is the sword from Conan the Barbarian," right? And he gives like the speech from Conan. But yeah, like that was some trippy stuff. He talked about his like Nazi stepfather beating him or something like that. And all the little boys on the street on the block there, and the little girls, their daddies would go home and beat them too. Like it was just like, holy shit, this is dark ass shit. Arnie
Yeah.
is like, it's terrible times we must talk. And the other thing he's done, like, we can all like shit on him for running as a Republican or whatever, but ever since he left the governor's office and during his time there, like he's been open about the climate crisis and climate change and global warming, through all the whatever it was called at the time. He's been right on that. He's been good on that, at least better than.
He whenever the first Iraq War happened, he saw the Humvees and he's like, "I want to drive one of those." So he got the first street legal Humvee.
Oh my gosh!
He took that and he converted it to run on oil. It runs on vegetable oil now.
Yeah, vegetable. Freaking Arnold, man.
So he's always been like a little bit out of step with the Republican Party in general. His final speech as governor was a really good speech, and I do recommend people checking it out about the environment and about like how we need to be switching to renewable resources and stuff like that. And unfortunately, like everybody, like because he's been canceled by the left, it's like, yeah, he's a slut. Arnold Schwarzenegger is a slut. He's a horny boy. And
you mean movie stars and politicians are sex maniacs?
Yeah, and he has children with maids and stuff that he helped raise.
Yeah. Well,
and
he did all those
when
things.
It became
too,
public. Yeah, no. I mean, like he's a known womanizer. I remember his
go ahead.
Co-star from Commando was complaining that he didn't sexually harass her. She's like, I was right. You come on.
I was right there. One of my wife and I, one of our favorite Arnold gaffe moments from his politics was when he called he called somebody a Latina woman hot blooded. And my wife's Latina, so I always like if we're in a spat or something, I'd be like, "It's a hot-blooded Latina. You should have the hot blood. The blood is too hot." Like he literally said that. Like she's a Latina.
One of his baby mamas.
Blood. Well, yeah. Oh, he was. I guess he was speaking from experience. But yeah, he's like they have the hot blood, and it was just like, oh man.
Was it Rachel Tichian? I don't quite know how to say her last name. But she was in two of his movies, Running Man and Total Recall, as his love interest. So,
I see.
That kind of. And she played Elisa Maza on Gargoyles.
Oh, okay. I don't know what Gargoyles is. Let's see if we can get
Power
one
Rangers,
of the.
but you don't know Gargoyles?
Oh, Gargoyles. Okay, now I know what you're. No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we'd have to have words afterwards if you didn't know what Gargoyles was.
Okay, all right. Well, I think we might have to. But I'm trying to find maybe a shot of the... Okay, so here's another thing. This guy, this little character. What is this thing and why?
I'm assuming that's explained in that movie we didn't watch.
Oh, the first movie. Okay, yeah, that's true.
That's
true.
my assumption. I'm gonna kind of like at first it was annoying me too, like because I watched this movie twice not knowing that there was a previous film, and then I learned that there's a previous film. I'm like, oh, maybe that's explained there. Because he really isn't explained. He just shows up.
He kind of is in one of those prologues, one of the 3 prologues at the beginning of the movie, because there's like the pre-credit and then the middle credit. And then the credits are still going on, while the characters are kind of...
Did you actually read the credits?
Some of them. I mean,
like Jackie Chan got a super duper amazing Gold Star producer title.
Oh my god! Okay, yeah.
And then like Arnold Schwarzenegger with thanks to Jackie Chan.
All right. So there's
hilarious.
So this little guy is like the comic relief, and he's always getting into things. But there's a really so I started noticing a lot of once they had the dragon seal, which was obviously like very much like the One Ring. Like once it got activated, it lights up and everything, and so it has magic powers. And so I was like, okay, this is a lot like Lord of the Rings. And there's a scene like right at the end where he helps out like bring the dragon away and blah blah blah, and there's a big explosion or some other thing, and then he's being carried away, flown away. He's being like held by somebody. Say what?
Yeah, he got stabbed by the evil witch. She pulled out one of her hair things and threw it at him and stabbed him.
Okay, the little guy or the cartographer you're talking about?
Both.
Oh, okay, yeah, she did that to both. But there's a scene where the little guy's being flown away, and it's literally repeat the exact scene from when the Eagles take Frodo away, and he's like in the arms of the Eagles. You see his little face, like, "Oh, I'm gonna be okay," and all the background passing swiftly below him. They literally have the exact same shot in this, except this little furry guy, this little bat monkey or whatever he is. So I just had to point out, as a Lord of the Rings nerd, I have to point out the theft, the clear theft from Lord of the Rings. That's the Iron Mask guy. This is the
He really is the main character of the film. I mean, like he should have been.
But isn't this guy kind of the main character of the film? The cartographer?
Because he was the cartographer was the main character of the first one.
That was what was difficult about this movie is you felt like nobody was really the main character. You know what I mean?
Whoever is standing in front of you at that moment is the main character.
Yeah. And then you have the hero girl who is the actual queen. And the princess, and she's like kicking all kinds of ass with her martial arts. The cartographer thinks she's a guy. These two have some moments that are all right, but this scene kind of I enjoyed. There's this whole sequence where they're in a storm, they're on a boat, and then they go through these crazy caves. And just as a visual spectacle, it wasn't the worst part of the movie. You know what I mean?
No, it was a lot of fun. It was like a Pirates of the Caribbean movie that we never got.
Yeah, that's definitely what it felt like. Let's see here. These are the three actors you said are brothers. Yes. They were good.
Well, they all had the same. No, they were perfectly fine.
Great stunt performers, great martial artists, all that stuff. But let's see. I really want to find this dragon. So we can.
Not the dwarf?
There it is. There it is. So this dragon has like psychedelic blue fire coming out of it, and like lightning and all this stuff.
I was kind of digging that, but it was weird.
It was weird.
Yeah. Again, this is. I am a little rusty on my Chinese dragon legends, so I kind of feel bad. I was working for Ben Burgess, and I had to do a bunch of last minute stuff for tonight's episode, so I didn't take the time that I normally would, where I'd like to delve in deep back in to refresh myself with dragon stories and the meanings and whatnot. So I kind of but like it is a very traditional is it 3-fingered or 5-fingered dragon? That's one of the things I should have been looking up. But in Japan it's 5-fingered or 3-fingered, and it's the opposite in China for whatever the royal dragon happens to be. But this dragon, which I mentioned before, is a bit like the eyelashes thing is a kind of a stand-in for the Russian story, and again I kind of wish I found something that kind of linked the two a little bit. I didn't. I unfortunately could not find anything.
Well, and so this dragon had some kind of weird psychic link as well with Jackie Chan, which was kind of made for an interesting scene.
Yeah, never explained, just comes out of the blue.
Yeah. And then it ends with if I flip through, maybe we'll find a bit of it. Oh man, there was just so much going on.
There was a lot. And you haven't seen the dwarf pirate captain.
Oh, I think we saw him a minute ago. Who's that actor? He's in a lot of stuff.
I think he's Russian.
For real?
I could be wrong. He was overdubbed too.
Come on. We just saw him a minute ago. There he is. No, wait. Oh, let's see if
he does look like somebody. I know what you mean.
Yeah, he let's see. Nope, wrong image. Martin Kleba. Huh. Let's find out a bit about him. I have to know. Come on, this guy. Yeah, he's American. Born in Michigan, Pirates of the Caribbean. That's why he's in Pirates of the Caribbean. He's in Jurassic World. He's in all kinds of stuff. I knew I recognized him. But let's see here. Maybe I can navigate this a little better.
Okay, my bad.
There's just, oh my gosh, like I did definitely, so much of this movie is just memory hold for me. Like I just don't even remember what happened because it was like, so much of it was unremarkable.
Everything was cranked up to 11, but also forgettable. Yeah.
Well, that was the weird
the
thing.
Fight sequences were actually legit good.
Some of them were, but other ones were totally forgettable. Where I just like, and again, like this village here looks like something out of like, like I don't know, some like RTS real time strategy game. You know what I mean? Like, oh God, don't forget to mine your gold or whatever. Like, but let's see what else. It was. Let's see. I mean, like we said, the fight scenes with these guys were memorable. There was the fight scene, of course, with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jackie Chan. And then once the dragon came around, there really wasn't that much after that, was there?
Not really. I mean, there was like...
There's Jackie Chan, like, feeling the dragon energy.
There was a bit of that, is it the queen or is it the princess or is it the witch? And then the little furry thing like identified the princess.
That's
like,
right.
That's the princess, and
it just seemed that
they lost the MacGuffin.
There was so many needless, just little things like that where it was like, oh wait, but such and such, right? And it's just like okay, and then we just move on, and you forget that even happened.
Yeah, it was just very disappointing.
That's what. So this
they should have done a whole film on Schwarzenegger and Jackie Chan.
Yeah. That would have made it a lot more fun if they had gone on an adventure and not just stayed in the same place the whole time. There was weird, and there was like the scene where there were like scenes between Jackie Chan and Arnold where he's like, you're a great fighter, I respect you, and like he's
you're very strong.
yeah, exactly. It was just this kind of back and forth.
You are the strongest warrior.
Yeah. Chen Shih brings up some more of like this Hong Kong politics. There was an agreement about granting Hong Kong 50 years municipality, but Chinese Communist Party just wanted to change some judicial issues and some other stuff because Hong Kong is a significant center, so they do it. No matter what they added. That's interesting. Jackie Chan knows where his money's coming from, or he knows, like, he knows not to make waves.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he's ever really been that political. I mean, he's always kind of played it safe as far as I understand it.
Yeah. But these days, even trying to play it safe is a bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? You're taking a stand by not taking a stand in a way, Yeah. There's the two of them on set. This is just a chance. It was just an excuse for these two buddies to hang out, I guess, huh?
Pretty much. Although, according to Wikipedia, originally they were looking at Jason Statham or Steven Seagal to play that role.
Oh my God. It could have been worse, you mean?
It could have been. Well, Jason Statham would have been fine. I kind of would like to see him and Jackie Chan fight.
I guess.
But Steven Seagal.
That would have been really bad. Evil Yoda has a question. Have you watched Ultimate Versus?
I know the title.
I have not.
I have not seen it, but I'm aware of it.
Yeah, I'm not. And he's got this here, by the way. Space Sheriff Shader is greater than Power Rangers. I don't know what that other thing is.
That's the original show that Power Rangers is based on.
Oh,
basically, it's a little bit more violence and a lot more like adult oriented. Like
Oh,
basically,
interesting.
the shows in Japan are geared towards older children, like teenagers,
Yeah,
young adults, and the obviously in America it's geared for like 5-year-olds.
I see. I see. That's it. That's interesting. Hmm. I got to see that. I got to see that Space Sheriff Shader. I think that's what it's called. But he also, or so that I learned something today. I need to,
I'll link
you
you to
know,
that video. Toy Galaxy did a good video on the history of that Marvel and I forget the Japanese company that Stan Lee made the deal with, but it's a really great video. Definitely worth taking a look if you want to check that out.
I
And
see.
I know we'll get to some Japanese movies. I got a few on the
Of
list.
course. Of course.
Not good ones, because if you want a good one, watch Akira Kurosawa.
Oh my gosh, I love Kurosawa. But so that's the thing. This is going to be the challenge of this show: is we are watching movies that are intentionally not good. So you have just characters like this who, what does she do? She's just kind of constantly,
Badly
you know,
dubbed.
yeah, badly dubbed, upset, mad at her husband from thousands of miles away, and then she meets him, finally gets together, they reunite, and she's still mad at him,
Yeah, well, the thing is they're kind of played the a bit of a I don't know if it's a Chinese trope, but I do see it a lot in Chinese films of like the jealous wife.
Yeah, the wife who, oh, my husband is away, with and he could be around a woman. I have to go thousands of miles to get him before anything happens. Yeah. That's kind of what the weird thing is. The whole thing seemed dated. You know what I mean? And like,
you'll feel the same way whenever you really get into some Korean films, like the not good ones. Like there's some great Korean films, but whenever you watch a bad Korean film, you're just like, that's like dated. When did this movie come out?
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
So yeah, I that's me watching Korean films right there in a nutshell.
There you go. And
The Great Charles Dance.
yeah, and he wasn't dubbed, right? You got some good lines out of him.
He apparently has a bigger part in the trailer of the first movie.
Jesus. And that was the weird thing. It just, this whole thing seems so slapped together.
Yeah, that's because again, like they actually have this great line in the trailer for if you look up VIY and I forget the subtitle, but that should because you'll see IMDb has this listed as Vi 2 Journey into China.
Okay.
And then there's Vi 3, which I forget the subtitle, but it's about going to India and fighting zombies.
Okay then. That. I mean, that works.
I hope they have like a big Bollywood number in the middle of it. Like that's all I'm asking for is just a big musical number where they fight zombies.
That would be pretty sweet, wouldn't it?
That would make up for watching this movie.
It really, like, all our 2 people still watching, thank you for being here. So I have this going on my channel, Political Payne, because our YouTube channel, Bad Takes, is not verified yet for whatever reason. I did the thing you're supposed to do days and days ago, and they said it takes like 24 hours, but still not working. But if y'all haven't, please go to Bad Takes with Joe and Andy on YouTube. Let me bring up our page there, but please go there. Please subscribe to our show. We're gonna probably be doing this every other week to start out, right, Andy? Or
maybe monthly,
sporadic, monthly, yeah. And so we're gonna be watching these bad movies, and part of it for me is like I said, I'm not a huge fan of bad movies, so I'm reacting to these fresh, but part of me is just like, I don't know how much I really have to say about this movie.
Yeah, this one doesn't really have much to say other than we can express our love for Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Which honestly, like that's a good way for people to get to know us because how else are we supposed to know, get to know people beyond their, besides our guilty pleasures, right? Like
That's true. That's true. Jackie Chan, I love everything he's done. and part of it is their characters are kind of interesting. We have Taryn Daly here in the on the Facebook comments. Love us some bad films, and that's kind of what this show is about. Andy loves bad films. I have yet to fall in love with the bad film.
Yeah, well, this is not a good first film to fall in love with. Maybe we'll have to pick a good, fun one next time.
So you're testing me a little bit with this. God, my hair looks terrible. I need a haircut. But here's our channel, everybody. Bad Takes right here on YouTube. You should go check that out and sub if you can. How many subs do we have right now? We are at 10, and we will be live streaming from there soon. But thank you for being there on Facebook, Taryn. Taryn, do you have a favorite bad film? Does anybody else have a favorite bad film? We have literally hundreds down in the list, and we are going to start bringing guests on to discuss these terrible, terrible movies. And specifically, Andy and I are both left-wing people, and so we want to bring on interesting, fun leftists to discuss these bad movies, but also just some of the ideas or politics or whatever that might kind of be swimming around this movie. I feel like we did as much as we could.
With this one, there's not a lot of meat there. But you know what we could do?
What's that?
We could talk about a bad movie that never got made.
What's that?
In the late 70s, Jim Shooter, who was the editor-in-chief of Marvel, apparently locked himself in the Marvel offices for a weekend with a bunch of blow and came up with a 14-page film treatment for a Dazzler and the Avengers movie.
Well, now.
Yes, and that's just the beginning.
But wait, there's more.
The name of it is New York, New York, or A Tale of Two Cities, a Marvel Comics, Casablanca Records, and Filmworks extravaganza.
Wow.
And so he came up with this plot. The cast of characters was going to include Cher as the Witch Queen, Donna Summer as the Queen of Fire, Kiss as the Dread Knights, Robin Williams as Tristan, and this was written in the late 70s. This is before he was like a romantic lead. So like he was kind of on cocaine, saw that Robin Williams should be a romantic lead. Rodney Dangerfield as Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe, as the Lord of Chaos, the Village People as the Stompers, and Lenny and Squiggy as the Jesters. And Disco Dazzler, the Amazing Spider-Man, and the Avengers as themselves.
That's something. That is something.
That's just the beginning.
Mm-hmm. So Taryn Daly has a couple favorite bad movies. The Gingerbread Man. Gary Busey is a giant voodoo created cookie made in a walk-in oven. Gah! Have you seen that?
I have not watched it yet. It's on my things to do.
Okay, well there you go. There's one. She also has another. Italian Jaws. The sound effects for the shark included chainsaw revving, lion roaring, etc. Is
that like Italian Spider-Man?
It must be. It's Italian Jaws. It's just the Italian version of Jaws, I'm assuming.
Oh, Italian Spider-Man's awesome. It's this fat guy in this like Spider-Man suit, but it's not really a Spider-Man suit because like the spider has like 6 legs on it.
It's a bug suit. He's Bugman.
It opens like a James Bond movie where he's like playing cards with this other guy in a mask.
Nice.
It is so ridiculous. Like his catchphrase is "Jesus Cristo." He, like, punches
That's
out
pretty good. That's pretty good. Taryn has another one.
Fight scene. It's just classic.
That's cool. Attack of the Killer Shrews. Dogs dressed in shrew costumes terrorize a couple people who never stop making cocktails through the entire film. Those are a few faves.
I don't know that one.
Me neither. Now, Chen She says Idiocracy or The Men Who Stare at Goats. I think Idiocracy is a great film. Don't think it's a bad movie. I think it got torpedoed because of the message it was sending.
Yeah, Mike Judge is kind of brilliant.
Yeah, I love Mike Judge. But I could get why some people think it's a bad movie, but that's what it's doing.
It's over the top. I mean, it's fun. Who played the president? Was that what's his name? Who basically was like Black Donald Trump.
Yes, yeah. Camacho
Oh.
was the president's name. He was like a porn star, pro wrestler. Pretty close, yeah. But also the Men Who Stare
Oh,
at Goats.
Donald
Have
Trump's
you
done
ever?
porn.
Yeah, have you ever
I
seen
mean,
the
not
Men Who Stare at Goats?
a long
I'm
time ago.
cutting you off there, Andy. I'm cutting you off with that.
Long
You
time
can't
ago.
have.
No, he
Hey,
doesn't actually do the porn. He's just in it.
of course. Yeah, I've seen the Men Who Stare at Goats. It's based off a John Ronson book, which is like, John Ronson's doing really good work. But they fictionalized it and made this weird movie, which is
Yeah, it's the
weird.
Coen Brothers, which is always a lot of fun.
Yeah, but it's definitely one of their stranger ones because of just all the different things. Chen is saying prophetic movie. I believe you're talking about Idiocracy. Yeah, definitely a prophetic movie. We're pretty damn close to that now. Let's see. Evil Yoda has one. Ravenous
Oh, that's a great one.
was also pretty bad yet kind of good. What's that one?
That one's about Civil War era cannibals.
Ooh,
That's
is up my alley.
Honestly, it's a legit good film. Like it's not like bad. It's like because it's about cannibals. It's become a it's a genre film, and genre films usually get called bad. But honestly, like Ravenous is a lot of fun because you got I'm blanking on the star, but I could see him in my head, and he's in Train Spotting and Stargate Universe. But he's always fantastic, and he's this like over the top British general who's like taught American soldiers how to do cannibalism.
Wow, that sounds great. That sounds really good.
It is intense. It's been a while since I've seen it, but it is a great film.
I'm down for that, man. Really quick, this is the I believe the Spanish or Mexican cover of of Iron Mask and Misterio del Dragón. So they don't. That's what I thought. Like that's what was weird is they call the movie Iron Mask, but the guy with the Iron Mask is not even really the lead much.
Yeah, he takes the mask off halfway through the movie too.
He's not that important, and so you'd think they would lead with the dragon.
He's the greatest king Russia has ever had.
Wait, who?
He's the greatest czar.
That was the whole thing of that guy. That was it.
He's Peter the Great.
I know, but that's not saying much for Russia. You know what I'm saying? But I get that was the other thing that definitely made it feel like okay that state media is in on this when they are like mythologizing their own history in that way. And this is the funny thing, like we see this in American cinema all the time. How America is. Captain America. Sometimes it's hard for me just to enjoy Captain America because of the propaganda. It pisses me off. You know what I mean? The propaganda that's a part of Captain America. Like I just don't like bullies, and I'm the little guy who's strong now. And it's like, bro.
But I
like,
mean, that's partly Jack Kirby too, because Captain America was created as essentially propaganda to get us in the war by Jewish people who were mad that they're hearing all these rumors about the Holocaust and nothing's being done in as far as they could tell in this country, and they wanted to like Jack Kirby wanted to get over there and fight the Nazis. When the first issue came out, and a bunch of what were known as silver shirts, that was basically the Nazi party in America back in the day. Because Italy had the black shirts, Germany had the brown shirts, and the United States had the silver shirts.
Okay.
After the first issue came out, a bunch of silver shirts showed up at the Marvel offices and said, "You want to have words with the guy who made this?" And the secretary's like, "Okay, let me see what I could do." And then she just didn't say anything to Jack Kirby. And he comes out on a break and he's like, "Hey, any messages for me?" She's like, 4 guys in silver shirts are in the base downstairs, so I have the lobby wanting to have words with you. And he takes off his coat, rolls up his sleeves, and goes, "See you in a few minutes."
Oh, man.
Because he wanted to fight some Nazis, but they left at that point.
Yeah, and that's the Jack Kirby of Marvel that you're always talking about, right?
Yes.
Let me look up some of his stuff. So where do you see us going next in the future, Andy? I mean, we haven't discussed exactly what.
We have not talked about the next episode. I know a couple of things I would love to do. There's some Christian propaganda films, a
Oh,
whole bunch
those
of them
are
on the
fun.
list.
Yeah,
And
those are always fun.
yeah, David A.R. White is actually like, I kind of enjoy him as an actor. Like, he's not good, but I enjoy him. Like, there's love that he puts into it. And, like, he actually cares about like the craft of acting and the art of making the film. And so, yes, he's making Christian Road Warrior. Yes, he's making Christian John Wick. But he's making Christian Road Warrior, Christian John Wick, and they get Kevin Sorbo in it with an Australian accent for no reason.
That's it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, but I was thinking like one of his films is God's Not Dead, and the big through line of the film is a philosophy professor who's an atheist, who's obviously supposed to be a low key Ben Burgess, and I was thinking of making Ben Burgess watch this movie, so he could see himself being played by Kevin Sorbo.
And you're talking about this one here?
Yes,
Kevin Sorbo. Yeah. There he is.
Yeah, he's like challenges his Christian student.
They got
to
the
a
guy
debate
from Duck
class.
Dynasty to cameo.
And they got the Newsboys. The Newsboys are like one of the biggest Christian groups out there. We might get demonetized if we play the sound. So just a heads up on that.
I don't think I can play the sound, but let's look at this. So he's. Well, what's the plot exactly of God's Not Dead? You were just saying
it's an anthology, so there's like several storylines going on.
Oh, it's one of those.
But the main plot going through it is this Christian student taking a philosophy class.
And so Sorbo's the philosophy teacher. He's the Ben Burgess. Oh,
yes,
God.
And he gets up there and says, God's dead, and you're all going to accept this because all these philosophers right here, which by the way, none of them really do. None of them actually say this.
Yeah.
They say that God doesn't exist, and so like they basically create philosophy as like this boogeyman. You want me to spoil the ending, or do you care?
Well, let me actually see it. Let me see it fresh.
Yeah,
for the first time.
It's something. But the Newsboys, which are like one of the biggest Christian performers, which you see right there.
Oh yeah.
The guy singing there was a member of DC Talk, which if you're a hip hop head, like old school hip hop head, you remember DC Talk being on Arsenio Hall, and like they were legit good. I mean, they had some really bad songs too, but they were hip hop heads will still be like, oh yeah, DC Talk, yeah, they get spoken in the same name with like Run DMC and Flavor Flav and like actually like better known bands because they're actually they were real. I mean, just keeping it real there.
Keeping it real. And
they
didn't go wrong.
Like I said, there were some real stinkers on their first album, but like their second album, New Thing.
Well, and then they went super Christian, so maybe keeping it real.
They were always Christian.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I'll put.
I don't judge.
One of their stinkers, you're gonna love it. It's so bad, it's good.
God's Not Dead, the movie. Well, that would be an interesting one to do. Wow. So bad takes. Here we are. We are. We've now looked at Iron Mask. I'm trying to go back so I can at least get a one of the movie posters up really quick while we kind of touch it. So, are we going to do any kind of grading system? Do you want to do any kind of 9 through 10, thumbs up, thumbs down?
But basically, I have a kind of like a weird grading system of my own.
Let's hear it. Explain.
It's kind of like is this movie a banger? Like that's like everything's great about the movie. You're going to enjoy it from start to finish. Like whether it's called a banger, perfect film, whatever mood. It varies whatever my mood is. But
like, really quick, just to understand the premise of our show a little better, because I feel like this is your project and I'm the co-host a little bit. But so we could end up watching actually a good movie.
There are a few good movies on that list. Actually, I will argue that, for example, let me scroll back up here. Oh no, not that one. Quick and the Dead, for instance. It's a Western. It's not like a classic or anything like that, but it's a legit good movie. Like there's nothing wrong with that. It's a lot of fun. It's Sharon Stone plays Clint Eastwood. You got young Leonardo DiCaprio.
Wait,
Lance
did you
Hendrickson.
Sharon Stone plays Clint Eastwood?
Basically, she's like the man with no name.
Okay.
She's the woman with no name.
I see. Very cool.
Russell Crowe plays a retired gunfighter priest.
Okay, and that one's called what again?
The Quick and the Dead.
And it's okay. It's not.
It's really enjoyable. Like it's Gene Hackman plays the main bad guy, and he just
okay.
Every single scene in that movie is an absolute work of art. The problem is it's just the whole movie is just a gunfight. It's just, and it's all the characters around in the gunfight, who they are, what their hopes and dreams are, why they're doing this.
Yeah. There's a few Wild West movies like that.
Yeah,
I grew up watching a lot
of
John Wayne. Yeah, I grew up watching a lot of John Wayne with my dad, and there's a few really great John Wayne movies that are shootouts with like there's a scene or there in there somewhere in the middle of maybe Robert Mitchum sings a song, someone starts strumming a guitar, you know what I mean, and then they're just shooting each other again.
Nobody breaks out in song, but they have like every hour on the hour they have to have like another gunfight because that's what they are because they're all basically gunfighting for a prize.
Oh well, that just sounds like fun, man.
Yeah, no, it's an absolutely fun movie. There is actually a storyline to it as well, but that starts to ruins things. I don't want to spoil any of the plot because you got like I said, you got Sharon Stone, Gene Hackman, Leonardo DiCaprio, Russell Crowe, Lance Hendrickson, Keith David, and one of my all-time favorites, Sven Ulf Thorson, who always plays that really big guy that beats up Arnold Schwarzenegger in his movies.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's just a really big guy that looks more intimidating than Schwarzenegger.
That's pretty cool. So if anybody watching still hasn't, please subscribe to our channel, Bad Takes, with Joe and Andy on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at Bad Takes. Follow Andy on Twitter right about now too. I'm on there as @Political Payne. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube as well as that. And of course, I do my show every Fridays. But Andy, where do you see us like taking this project in the future? I kind of see it as a fun hang to talk pop culture and movies, and of course bad movies, but not limited to. But you also have a really amazing list of potential guests. So what are you hoping to foster here on Bad Takes for to kind of cap our inaugural episode?
I kind of want to see like an elevated conversation. I want to talk about some of the politics, like for instance the handover, the handover of Hong Kong in '97, or because movies are really a great way to kind of like learn history, learn politics. I'm actually blown away by how much theory is in the TV show Sons of Anarchy right now. I just started watching that for the first time. Which, who knew, right? They'd be talking like Emma Goldman and actual anarchy.
Wow. Oh, then they do talk about that in that show.
They touch on it. It's like it's a very subtle thing, but but the thing is too is like movies do a lot of that. Red Scorpion, which I brought up on your stream the other night. Red Scorpion was right-wing propaganda, and sometimes too it's fun to actually take a look at that, talk about it, and be like, what would left-wing propaganda like this look like? What would an anti-imperialist action film actually be?
Mm-hmm.
How fascinating would that be? We can easily go in those kind of directions when looking at this, and actually breaking down and understanding what makes this movie actually kind of enjoyable, which Red Scorpion certainly is fun to watch.
Yeah. This movie was fun to watch. It was a labor to watch. Iron Mask, a good amount of it. And
I'll try not to pick too many of those. That's
okay. That's okay. But I like what you said. Kind of a movie made by committee. That helps. I think me understand why was there so much going on? There was all this mythologizing of Russian history, of Chinese mythology, and all these other things. It was why is this going on? And it's because, in other countries, they have nationalistic mythologizing in their cinema as well, right? And why should America be so special. Everybody gets to do that.
Exactly. And it is kind of fun to kind of look at those and just like see how that makes you feel too. Like because like first time I watched Wolf Warrior 2, like the propaganda in that film was so heavy. I was like sitting up like, fuck yeah, China. At the end of the
That's funny. Yeah, they definitely give you a feeling and a character of they put forth what they're trying to depict, and it's interesting. I don't know. Do you think, because they have that one character who is like the witch queen, the villain, and it's kind of interesting how they depict corruption and intimidation in that context, like how they intimidate everybody, torture and other stuff like that. Like, I don't know if that's so much a conscious thing by the Chinese government trying to make what look bad. I don't know, but maybe that's how things were before the Glorious Revolution or whatever, what have you.
That's a good question to actually ask a expert on the history, because I've only taken like Chinese art history, which is probably a lot more than most people have, which is why I also can speak to a little bit of the history and of whatnot. And the Chinese part of it was not set in any specific dynasty or anything like that.
Yeah, it was not. It was not.
I mean, even though I can clearly look up on Wikipedia, because they got all the different years the dynasties were and know what it is, but it doesn't matter because it doesn't affect the story at all.
Of course. Yeah. And that was the other thing, is you had these weird historical connections, but then you also had this stuff that felt like it was totally transmogrified, of cross-cultural, cross-mythological, and they kind of made their own world, which was a little fun to kind of see how they, the little subtleties of it, the weird little demon, bat monkey character, and all the other strange things they had going on. It wasn't a total waste of time, but you did feel like you were slogging through it.
Yeah, I mean, like the creatures that they have of the hidden army, or the ancient army that the the evil witch had, were done better in other films, like Pavilion of the Red Dragon, I think it is, with Jet Li, which is a over-the-top film where he's on the run from the Chinese government because he's served the wrong I can't remember why he is, and he's like raising his son, and he got like this 10-year-old that's like this really great martial artist, and like the two of them go around fighting, and it's got this weird humor to it too. So like Jet Li Jet Li can be funny, but Jet Li, whenever he's like he's not like Jackie Chan, where it's like he can be funny while he's fighting.
He's natural, yeah. Jackie Chan is a very natural humor, a very physical humor.
Yeah, and Jet Li does a lot of Jackie Chan roles in China.
Interesting.
And I only say that just because like Jackie Chan would have made this a funnier film. Not.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of times where Jackie Chan's in a movie where like the tones are weird, like they have like weird switches in tones, and they do the same thing with some Jet Li films where he's trying to be funny, and he is, like I said, he's funny. It's just his funny works better in like, say, like the Expendables movies where it's like the punchline's like one of the parts in the first one, he goes up to Stallone and he's like, you must pay me extra money because I must walk twice as far as everybody else because I'm short.
Yes, yeah. Bad joke, but
terrible joke. But like the thing is, though, is he pulled it off because he has the chops to be funny.
Yeah, and it's also a bit of a deadpan too. That's always good.
Yeah, and whereas like in Pavilion of the Red Dragon, he's like one part he's like cleaning his underwear and it gets ripped, so he makes he's like, son, I have underwear for you, and his son's like, oh, thank you, and he's like, but Dad, what about your underwear? I'm not wearing any. How is it? It's drafty.
Oh man! All right. Well, in case we ever watch that movie, let's put a fork in that one there.
watch that.
We're not okay. So there's some movies so bad we won't even watch them. Well, that's good to know. But Andy, do you have anything else to add? I think this is pretty good. Our first episode of Bad Takes in the bag. People know to go follow us and check us out. Anything else you want to add, or you think folks should know?
I will say, like, if you do decide to watch this movie, Iron Mask, and you're bored after the Arnold Schwarzenegger Jackie Chan fight, shut it off. Go ahead. You're not really missing anything.
Yeah.
There are some interesting. There are moments, but they're not really worth it.
Yep.
But yeah, so watch it up to the Jackie Chan Arnold Schwarzenegger fight, and you're good.
Cool. So I feel like almost that is a rating right there. Like, how good is this movie? You should watch the fight scene with Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger, but after that, you're good. You don't have to watch the rest. That's pretty good. Okay. All right. Well, I feel good about it. How do you feel, Andy? First episode of Bad Takes. Is that it?
Pretty good. Yeah.
All right. Everybody else, thank you very much for being here. Evil Yoda. He was contributing some stuff all along the way. Chen Shed, thank you very much. Chen Shed is going to go watch Ravenous, and also said, funnily enough, that
Ravenous is beautifully shot too. I'm just going to throw that in there. Like,
cool. Oh, I love anything set in that time period.
Yeah, no, it's like beautifully shot. It's really a much better film than cannibal movie should be.
All right. Well, and just for fun, so everybody can really get the vibes of this, I'm going to close the show out the way we started it with the trailer for Iron Mask. So let's go out watching that, and everybody have fun. We'll be back here in, I think, a month, and you can see me on my channel, Political Payne, for my new show on Friday. And we will, go find us on social media, Facebook and Twitter, and we will, we will be here watching these bad movies. And check out our social media so you can see what we're going to watch before you can go watch it, and then jump in on the conversation, because I'm sure folks will be able to comment some stuff that they liked about the goofy, weird, bad movies we're going to be watching. So, all right. Thanks again. Thanks, Andy. And let's watch the trailer to close it out. And this was fun. First episode in the bag. Whoop.
The Master is held prisoner in Tower Grey Prison.
In 500 years, no one has ever escaped. Anyone who can get to the top is free. Who is next? I've been waiting for this for a long time.
You look better this way.
I owe you my life.
I'm going east. Come with me.
My village has changed. Something is very wrong.
She's an evil bitch.
What in God's name is happening?
My people are suffering. I must help save them. We need my father's seal.
I swear to find her.
It's a perilous journey, filled with dangers.
You're a great fighter.
You are very strong, hero. Can you help us?
Frightening, but quite impressive.
Kill him!
When I have the seal of the dragon, I will rule the world.
Where's the dragon?